Howdy everybody, Common Sense Lion here with some lion common sense. I'm gonna address George Takei on his article about Kim Davis and the Constitution. George Takei has apparently become somewhat of a moral authority, at least on the internet, so people tend to look up to him, but I sometimes wonder if maybe he should go look back at the Star Trek universe when he makes his comments about things. So he wrote an article about how Kim Davis apparently violated the First Amendment. Oh, and one thing we might want to take into consideration is that Kim Davis is a Democrat. I don't know if that bothers any Democrats out there or not. Anyways, here's his article here. It says a Kentucky clerk and her supporters ignore the Constitution's Establishment Clause, which prohibits anyone from forcing their own religious views on others. Well, yeah. I guess it says Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or the press or the right of the people to peaceably assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Okay, so what does he have to say for his little Constitution 101 class here? Kim Davis and her various supporters are adamant on one point. Her religious freedom has been stripped away. To them, her case is the first step toward putting good Christians in jails for their beliefs. Well, she was put in jail, so if she's good or not is probably a matter of opinion. Her refusal to issue marriage licenses to same-sex couples in Kentucky is, in their view, a matter of faith with which the government has no right to intervene. They hang their collective hat on the First Amendment's guarantee of freedom of religion without articulating, let alone differentiating the two co-equal components to that very freedom. So is he saying it's a matter of faith for the same-sex couples, or it's a matter of her faith that... Yeah, yeah. So let us go back to high school civics. Okay. What did we learn in high school? When discussing the religious freedom portion of the First Amendment, there are not one but two clauses we must consider. The commonly understood and cited part, and the one Ms. Davis trumpets, is the freedom to worship guarantee. It doesn't say freedom to worship. It says free exercise of religion. I mean, it'd be nice if they use the actual wording in the Constitution in this, Mr. Takei. Under that clause, the government is allowed to pass any law or take any action prohibiting the free exercise of religion. Well, there we go. Simply put, the government can't do anything to stop you or anyone else from worshiping God or Buddha or the flying spaghetti monster, if that's what your conscience or faith tells you. In Ms. Davis's view, the government, via a federal court, has overstepped its power by forcing her to act against her religious beliefs and therefore has trodden upon her right of free exercise. Well, yeah, the federal court did in fact overstep its boundary, but you're not going to even address that because no one seems to care about that, at least on the same-sex marriage side. You might go Was that the 10th Amendment? Go look at the 10th Amendment there. The power is not delegated to the United States by the Constitution or prohibited by it to the states or reserved to the states respectively or to the people. I mean, there's nowhere in the Constitution where it says that. I mean, well, actually, let's go. Let me see if we can go look at the powers of the Supreme Court. Let's read transcript. Let's see, we want to go to, let's see, Article 2, Presidential Powers, Article 3, the judicial power of the United States shall be vested in one Supreme Court, and in such inferior courts as the Congress may from time to time ordain and establish. The judges, both of the Supreme and inferior courts, shall hold their offices during good behavior, and shall at stated times receive for their services a compensation, blah blah blah. They'll get paid, apparently, for holding their office. Judicial power shall extend to all cases in law and equity arising around this Constitution, the laws of the United States and treaties made or which shall be made under their authority, to all cases affecting ambassadors or other public ministers and consuls, to all cases of admiralty and maritime jurisdiction, to controversies to which the United States shall be a party, to controversies between two or more states, between a state and citizens of another state, between citizens of different states, between citizens of the same state claiming lands under grants of different states, and between the state or the citizens thereof and foreign states, citizens or subjects. That's a lot. In all cases affecting ambassadors and other public ministers and consuls, da 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 da, lots of stuff. The trial of all crimes except in cases of impeachment shall be by jury, and such trial shall be held in the state. Treason against the state, United States, shall consist only in levying war against them or in adhering to their enemies, given them aid and comfort. No person shall be convicted of treason on the testimony of two witnesses. The Congress shall have power to declare the punishment of treason, but no attainder of treason shall, even the Supreme Court, judicial power doesn't give them the power to, but yeah, nowhere in there does it say the Supreme Court has legislative power. You might think about that might be something to address. Anyways, the argument falls apart, however, once you take into account the other less commonly understood clause. The Establishment Clause prohibits the government from aiding or assisting any religion or religious viewpoint over any others. Mr. Takei, you might want to take into account that the government, all the laws and such is made off of the beliefs of the population, or the majority belief of the overall population of the United States. This was a key point for the founders of our country, who were of diverse faiths and did not want a state religion or even any state-endorsed religion. Where people talk about separation of church and state, this is the part of the Constitution that embodies it. Let's see, where does it say the state shall be separate from religion? Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibit. Well, it seems to say that Congress can't establish a religion or prohibit people from exercising religion. It doesn't say religion is supposed to stay out of the government. The separation has worked well over the past two and a quarter centuries today. Today, the Baptists have no more right to have their particular beliefs elevated over the Methodists or the Druids, for that matter, by any government official. Except not everyone believes the same thing as far as marriage, and you're kind of forcing people to, the government kind of forces people to believe marriage is one way. So what does the Establishment Clause have to do with Kim Davis? It's actually rather straightforward. I think it is. She is a government employee charged with performing a clerical task, issuing marriage license. As an employee of the government, the moment she imposed her own personal religious beliefs that only straight couples should be married, she raised an Establishment Clause problem. Actually, she raised the issue of the government even being in the business of a marriage, because it'd be wrong to deny her right to exercise her religious beliefs just because she's in the government. That would be illegal, prohibiting her from that. Let's see, what is that? What does it say? Prohibiting the free exercise thereof. By insisting on applying God's law, or at least her interpretation of it, over the civil law, she gave, speaking of interpretation, you know, that whole Constitution thing there, George, she gave greater weight by the government to a particular religious viewpoint, namely her own brand of Christianity. This was a plain violation of the Establishment Clause. No, it wasn't. A violation of the Establishment Clause would be saying, well, everyone has to get a marriage license if they want to be considered married. Or you have to accept that marriage is a same-sex marriage. That, of course, raises another question. If it is a violation, wait. I thought you just said it was a violation. A plain violation. It was a plain violation there, Mr. Takei. At least that's what you said. Where do Ms. Davis's rights to freedom of worship begin and end? It's a freedom, it's free exercise of religion. The simplest way to think about this is to agree that all of us have a right to worship. We all have a right to exercise our religious beliefs. It's not just worshiping, it's exercising our religious beliefs. But that right ends at the tips of our noses. Yes, if your religious belief requires you to kill me or requires you to punch me in the face, yes, that's where it ends. That is, we have a right to our beliefs, but we don't have the right to impose our views on other members of the public. Yes, we don't have the right to force what we believe on other members of the public. That is correct, Mr. Takei. Everyone's perfectly free to worship as they please and exercise their religious beliefs. Not just worship. It's not just about going into some building and worshiping. It's about actually exercising our religious beliefs in our entire life. But this freedom also includes not having other people's beliefs interfere with our own. Why did you change to beliefs instead of worship? Shouldn't you say other people's ways of worship? Gosh. This is even more important when we're talking about government officials, because apparently all government officials are supposed to be atheists, I guess, such as public school educators, judges, or county clerks. Such individuals are expected to do their jobs no matter who is appearing before them or under their care. Imagine, for example, that a person of the Quaker faith took a job with the county and then refused to issue gun licenses on the ground it violated her faith. Oh, Mr. Takei, we're going to make you the new speaker for the NRA. I liked it. I like where you're going here. The easy answer here is that she would have no right to do so. Yes. Because we have a Second Amendment, Mr. Takei. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So yes, I'm glad you found that, because I imagine you're now going to go on a civil rights spree to restore the rights of every citizen to own and possess a firearm. The easy answer here is that she would have no right to do so. Correct. Nobody has the right to deny your right to bear arms. I love where you're going here, Mr. Takei. If guns are legal in the country, which they are, then citizens have a right to apply. Well, they have a right to not have to get a license because it's, unlike marriage, it's actually a right to bear the right to bear arms is actually a right. And she cannot use her personal beliefs to stop others from obtaining a license. In this example, gun owners and non-gun owners alike probably would tell her to go find another job where she can function without ethical or religious dilemma. Right. There's all kinds of people out there denying, gun licenses and people's rights to bear arms, such as in Washington, D.C. or Chicago. And I can't wait to see all these anti-gun groups telling all these officials that they should be fired. So George Takei, I can't wait to see your next speech for, at the next NRA rally, championing the cause of restoring everybody's right to bear arms. As a public official, it isn't even clear Ms. Davis has the same rights as... Oh, she definitely has the same rights as a private citizen. That's bullcrap that you somehow give up your rights because get elected. To speak out, let alone and act in opposition to same-sex marriage as part of her official duties. As a conservative majority of the Supreme Court noted in the case of Garcetti v. Ceballos back in 2006, when public employees make statements pursuant to their official duties, the employees are not speaking as citizens for First Amendment purposes, and the Constitution does not insulate their communications from employer discipline. If you're in the government, it says you have the right to freedom of speech. I mean, you can't censor people. You have no right to censor people just because they're in a government position. And you do not lose your right to free speech just because you're in a government position. You don't lose your rights just because you get a job. Now, it'd be interesting to know what that, if you would put information on what that case actually was about. I mean, if they fired someone for saying that I hate Republicans, then that's understandable. But if they fired someone for saying some violent rhetoric about something, then maybe there's a point. But otherwise, all speech is acceptable. In other words, Ms. Davis, as an officer of the county, is subject to the Establishment Clause limitations, and precisely because she is a government employee, does not have the right to claim First Amendment protection either for her speech or for her actions based on her faith. Yes, she does. She has a right to her religious exercise. If you don't like it, you vote her out. Or heck, the whole reason the Constitution was written was to give some basic, very basic tenets that pretty much all religions could agree on, like not murdering people, not stealing from people, respecting other people's rights. But instead, you got people believing, oh, we have to define marriage, and somehow, when if a religion does it, it's a religious exercise. But if the government does it, it's not religious. That's wrong. It is somewhat surprising that religious freedom advocates would choose this particular hill to defend. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you gotta understand that people are idiots, and they want. The government is literally a religion. It's defines. There's all these laws defining morality, and somehow you just don't see that. Somehow, if the government does it, it has nothing to do with religion unless it was a religious person doing something that agrees with their religion. Yeah. As any judge or constitutional law expert would easily conclude that her behavior violated Establishment Clause principles going back to the very founding of our nation. Establishment of religion. So what you seem to be saying is that the marriage license, government defining marriage, is an establishment of religion. All right, Mr. Takei, I understand. So you should probably be championing the cause to get marriage out of government completely, because marriage is a religious institution. In so doing, these self-described advocates for religious liberty are in fact showing an alarming disregard and ignorance of some of the bedrock principles around the separation of church and state. Yes, because because the First Amendment says, Congress shall separate church and state, and they shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or the press, or the right of the people to peaceably assemble and to petition the government for redress of grievances. Congress shall make laws to keep people from bringing their religious exercise. Apparently that's what the First Amendment says. A much thornier question arises when private citizens assert that they are being compelled to provide services for same-sex couples in violations of their personal beliefs, because they are. If it violates your beliefs and someone forces you to do it, they're being forced to do it. Such as the infamous gay wedding cakes example. Yes, you force them to make a cake for you. That is a quandary for another day. No. That's what you should be talking about, whether or not it's moral to force people to violate their beliefs for your religious beliefs. One, I'm sure, will test the boundaries of the two religious freedom clauses. Yes, religious freedom. Congress cannot establish, shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. Mrs. Davis's case, on the other hand, is crystal clear to anyone who appreciates what separation of church and state really means. Well, back up here, it didn't seem very crystal clear to you, because first you said it was a plain violation, and then you're like, wait, but if it is a violation, you're not too sure up here. The vociferous defense of her behavior by some indeed suggests that they aren't really very interested in maintaining this separation at all. Well, if you actually put any thought into this, instead of just thinking about it as a religious, thing, maybe think about how marriage actually is a religious thing and something that the government instituted to basically establish a religious tenet inside the government. That marriage actually is not a right at all. But now the whole argument just has to be over the religious belief of an individual. When whenever there's a specific case of someone not being forced to do something against the will of against their own will, you gotta, there's something just wrong there. You're not gonna bake me a cake? Bake me a cake!